Save the Semantics, episode 142. It is Friday, April 16th, 2021. I had to open up my windows a little bit. This is the podcast where I ramble on for a wee bit about my life and other shit if I don't know if there's anything that's really worth talking about. And most of the time, I would say it depends. It really depends on a week-to-week or a month-to-month basis of how I feel. Excuse me. Just had lunch, so it's that post feeling, if you know what I mean. I'm feeling pretty good. I just went to the dentist. That's before I ate lunch. But yeah, I went to the dentist for the first time, or just for the first time in a long time. Going to any office for medical reasons or whatever. So it was kind of awkward for me, at least. Like I was just I'm like, yeah, I don't. I know this is norm. This is supposed to be, the normal proceedings, but just under circumstances, it felt weird. But I'm glad that I did it. They said my teeth are okay. Obviously, it needs some work done, but yeah, for the most part, okay. So that's good. Um, just afterwards, I just went out and just got some food. But every time I've done this for the last few weekends or whatever, it just further solidifies that I'm just not ready for the world. I'm just not ready for the outside world, man. I'm just I've been a hermit for so long, so it's pretty wild and crazy and mind blowing whenever I go out and see just a bunch of people in sort of a in a space it's just so it's still very far removed from me. It's like whenever I see those videos of people partying on spring break or whatever. I know spring break was technically a little while ago now, but anytime I see footage of that, it just I'm just like that's not real. It's not within my it's not within my reality at the moment. So I don't even think about it. But you know, it's not like I was in a huge crowd of people by any means. But I was walking in an area where there was outdoor dining and stuff, and it was just yo, there's a lot of people out here. It's kind of pretty crazy. And it just feels it's gonna be an adjustment. I know I say that every time, but it really is just just for me to get back into it. I'm sure people that work, that work in the service industry, that work in the food industry, probably are accustomed to it because they interact with people on a daily basis. But for someone like me who doesn't do any of that, who hasn't done any of that for the past year, it's it's gonna be there's gonna be an adjustment. So I just have to get back into that and just try to be normal as I can, which is gonna I don't know. It's just funny to me that I have to relearn these habits in a way. I think, from an outsider looking in, if people saw, like, I know it doesn't matter at all. Like, I know you shouldn't really give a shit what people think of how, how you appear or whatever, but, sometimes it just creeps up. But I'm sure if people were looking at me, they wouldn't think, they wouldn't give it a second thought. But just like in my head, it's just like, I'm just thinking, holy shit, yo, I'm actually doing this. Like, this is crazy. It's so juvenile. There's just no like this. It's such a, I don't know. I consider it so much more high stakes than it actually is. I mean, obviously there's the stakes of it being that I could catch COVID, but I think it appeared that most people were wearing masks, so that was comforting. I'm pretty on the fence about the outdoor eating situation and the fact that you have waiters with masks that bring food to people with no masks. Like, I don't really, it's sort of pointless, and I've pointed that out before, but I don't know. There's really no, I don't think there's really much of a point to make. I just feel bad for the servers. That's pretty much it. I just feel bad for them and the fact that they have to, potentially expose themselves on a daily basis. But I think that I'm assuming that most people, I don't know about most people, but um, a lot of people have been vaccinated that work in direct contact with other people. So I don't really think that's, whatever. But I think this dude's gonna give me a ticket. Yeah, I think I'm gonna bounce. Okay, so never mind. I was good. I thought he was um, a meter maid ticket person, and I was mistaken. So I'm good. I don't know if I'm supposed to park here. That's my. I'm parked in this sort of like a residential area, so because I don't want to pay for parking. Who the fuck? Oh my god, dude! I don't know. Bitching about paid parking. I just have like bad experience with parking and shit, and I'm sure nobody has. I don't know. It's never. Excuse me. Just my university was like parking situation was so incredibly shitty. There's just no, I have no, I don't know. It's just the fucking worst thing, and it just got progressively worse as time went along. I think my senior year, it just got to a point where it was just like, what the fuck are we paying for? The parking permits cost was just ridiculously high. They like increased it by like, I don't even know, like 150% every year. Because I remember my first year, it was something like 300, and then by the end of, before I graduated, the my senior year, it went up to like, I don't even, it was like 500 or something like that. It was ridiculous. It was so, it's just, oh my god. I'm not gonna get into it, but it was just so. It just pissed me off, man. It was ridiculous, and the parking situation was fucking dog shit. It was just not. There was limited space, and you could really only park one spot, and you're paying this ridiculous amount of money for. I don't know, man. Anyways, yeah, adjusting back, new normal, all that shit, right? It's just it's just gonna be an adjustment. Like, it's like I just have to I really have to just kind of throw myself. Once I do get vaccinated and everything, and once I feel comfortable enough to start seeing people on a more regular basis, then I have to. I just have to kind of just get into it and just try to relearn how to socialize and everything like that. It's gonna be interesting for sure. It's like What else? I'm trying to think of an example. You know, it just takes practice with just like it's with everything else, you know. Certain things I haven't done in a while. I haven't ridden a bike in a minute. I'm sure I'm not going to be super good if I, you know, try riding a bike right now, but um you know, similar thing, I guess. Yeah. But it's yeah, it's nice out right now. I'm just kind of chilling. I don't really want to move around too much. So I've just kind of been in place for a little bit after having lunch and everything like that. But yeah, I feel all right at this moment. Just to give a, I don't know, a status update, I guess, of things. Um, I mean, I definitely go through, and I don't talk about my mental shit or whatever too often because I don't really know if it's that really that severe, to be honest. I've never been like clinically diagnosed with anything or anything like, or with anything, so I don't, I can't really say if I've been really truly affected by whatever is going on in my head, but yeah, and I think it'll be good just to, I think for my own sake, just to give like a update whenever I can. Just be interesting, kind of looking back and seeing, where I was and everything like that. Not just how things were doing in my life, but also how things were, how I personally was, at this moment in time. And I'd say right now I'm doing all right. I think it's one of the biggest things that I always kind of struggle with in terms of, I don't know, dealing with certain things. I know I'm being pretty vague here, but I'll reach a point with this. But I think that one of the biggest things that I sort of struggle with is just being comfortable with like myself and being happy with who I am and that sort of thing. Um, it's always it really the biggest thing that I just run into is just comparing myself. Like it's just I think everybody deals with that, but I don't know. It's a very easy kind of thing to get like attached to, or it's an easy, I don't know. It's an easy self criticism that you can kind of make, if that makes any sense. Like it's just hard. It's hard not to do it. If you see someone who's potentially in a better position than you are, like it's easy. It's hard. It's for me at least. It's not. It can be difficult not to compare yourself, right? Like it's like, oh, I wish I was doing that thing in that moment right now. I wish I wasn't in this position at this moment, But it's all so relative, right? And it's just ultimately it really doesn't matter all that much, right? I think that I'm happy with where I'm at, like currently with my job and my point in my life, but then it just like it creeps up on me where I'm like, well, actually, I could have this, or I could have my own space. I could be living, somewhere else or whatever, and it's just I'm it's always going to be like a work in progress, just not trying not to do that and just kind of being comfortable with where I'm at and how I transition through life is very different from how really anybody else transitions through life, so it's really it's there's no point in doing those types of comparisons. It's just there's no, again, I think this is another point that I've brought up before. I think it's okay to look up to someone and aspire to be maybe in their position, or to kind of have the same level of confidence that they exude, or if that they, you know, that they present themselves as a role model, and so you kind of want to be like that person, but I think it gets to a point where it's unhealthy to try to, compare yourself to that person and be like, oh, I'm gonna, follow these exact steps to get to that person's point, if that makes any sense, right? It's just not, it's just not really, it's not healthy. It doesn't really amount to much, right? Comparison is the thief of joy and all that shit, right? Theodore Roosevelt. Good quote. Shout out Theo. um, shout out Teddy. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's easy to do that, and I think I'm getting better at not doing that. But it's yeah, it's always gonna be there, I think. But I just have to get better at just recognizing that there's no real benefit to me doing that, because there's, everything is relative and all that shit, and I'm just, I'm living my own life. Everybody else has their own sort of way of going about things, so everybody, moves through things at their own pace, and I should just do the same. I think it comes to that when, or I start making those comparisons when I feel like, I don't know, I just, it just kind of pops up once in a while. It's not, I don't know, it's not like the worst thing ever, but I've just noticed that that's like a pretty, persistent thing that just, comes around once in a while. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of make a point of that, just in general, and to myself. But just putting it vocally kind of makes it a little more. I feel better, just saying it out loud as opposed to kind of keeping shit to myself. That's another thing. It's just like I tend to be pretty reserved. Again, the pretty common thread of things, but I keep, a lot of shit to myself. And I mean, it's hard to just, sometimes it's hard for me to, just in general, to like open up and just like talk about certain things, because I feel sometimes that it's, burdening the person that I'm talking to. I'm like telling them this information about myself that's, potentially pretty sensitive and, vulnerable. And I think that, there's, like, I sometimes feel like there's potential for maybe, this is more, I don't know, this is, very unlikely, but there's potential that someone might try to take advantage of me, by, like, I don't know, scamming me or something like that, conning me for my shit. If I'm vulnerable, like, I get caught up in a pyramid scheme, that sort of thing. But, it's, it's always kind of like trying to figure out, like, balancing out the best way to kind of express yourself, but also doing it in like an appropriate setting with the right people and everything like that. So that's that's a pretty big thing that I've been trying to pay attention to, if I'm being more conscientious of myself and how I present myself or whatever. Yeah, that's how I'm feeling right now. I'm feeling pretty introspective. But I feel all right. That's sort of my state of mind, and I'm I do want to. I don't know where I'm going with that, actually. That was just kind of a broken thought, honestly. Wasn't really gonna end up anywhere. Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna end it on that. I feel good. I didn't really bring up anything specific in terms of what I've been watching or whatever, but to be honest, I really haven't been. Um, oh, I listened to the new Brockhampton album. That was really good. Um, yeah, I'll probably listen to it again. Had a lot of great tracks on there. Um, and yeah, really enjoyed it. I I liked Ginger a lot too. Um, I think, I admit I am one of the fans that was sort of more of I was, one of the fans that was originally drawn into them with, saturation and everything like that, but I think that yeah, their last couple of albums have been pretty good, and this last one has been yeah, super enjoyable. And I think all the features fit pretty well. So maybe I'll do a more in-depth thing to just kind of give my thoughts on the album and Brockhampton maybe. But yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling content. And we're gonna leave it off at that. This has been Save the Semantics, signing off.